Okay. Hi, everybody. Today we're talking about bits that are legal for ranch riding classes. Somebody had asked us this question, and we thought it might be something that a few of you guys also had a question about. So we're going to talk about legal bridles and legal equipment for ranch riding classes, and we will do a separate one about the reining, because that was another question that we've had recently. If you have questions as we go along about ranch riding equipment, then you are welcome to write that here in the comments, and we'll get back to you as best we can while we're live. Otherwise, we will circle back and get back to you as quickly as we can about those. And if you have a question or a topic that you'd like for us to address, you can write it here wherever you're finding us. You can send it to our email at hayescofelph@gmail.com. And if you're looking for other ways to work with us, you can check us out on our website, hayescofelperformancehorses.ca. Where do we start with what equipment is legal for, this was AQHA ranch riding?
Yeah, and I think that needs to be said a lot through this whole video. Just because what we say is AQHA legal, don't think you can go show the Arabs or the different disciplines in there, because they do have different rules. Apps, paints, and quarters horses have gotten all together, but there are different rules for different breeds and whatnot, so you just need to know that so that we're not held liable for your entry fees.
Well, and I want to say that the rules change from year to year. So what is true in 2023 may not necessarily be true for 2024. And that, we always like when people send us questions and stuff and topics for things like this, but you're always best to check yourself. Check the go directly to the source, check the rule book yourself. If you need some help interpreting the rule book, that's a good spot to get some help from somebody. And you can call AQHA at any time. You can call them and you can ask for clarification. They can direct you to a page in the rule book, or they might be able to just answer that for you right on the phone.
Another one that you can do too is you can do it at the show. So if you're not sure, if you've watched this video, your bit looks a little different or whatever, the judges do not walk up to them as they're judging or right as you're walking in the show pen. Walk up to them at lunch break. Walk up, if it's an AQHA, NRHA deal, walk up to your show rep and just simply say, I have a question. Is this legal or not? Way ahead of the class, because the judges will all answer it. They'll be very nice about it. There's nothing worse than if they're not sure, and they are human beings, so they have to think through some stuff. If they're not sure, you don't want to put them on the spot when you do a bit check at the ring, right as they're dropping the bridle. If they have a few seconds to say, you know what, I'm not sure about that, let me look at the rule book during the lunch break or whatever, they're way happier about that. So that's something that just needs to be said. And when they change rules from year to year, and I've done it too, I've had some bits that I've had for years where the rule changed, and I know that they're legal. I had one bit years and years ago that a guy made, and the mouthpiece was a very nice mouthpiece, but he had handmade it. It looked a little bit rough, how he welded it together. And I went up to numerous judges and just said, hey, take a look at this before we show. And they all did the same thing. At first they went, huh. And then as they looked through it, yeah, it is legal. And it's funny because they all, oddly enough, they thanked me for bringing it up ahead of time. So that's something that, if you're unsure, ask the judges. We'll explain it here, but also get the judge's idea of it when you're right at the thing. Mm-hmm. It's so important to be fair to everybody, fair to the judges when they're going to check your bridles. One thing that we'll hear a lot of too, people will come here with their horses, and we'll explain to them that their bit is not legal, being that maybe it's a twisted mouthpiece or something. We'll explain what that is. And they've been showing at the club shows or even quarter horse. Quarter horse it is not necessary to drop bits. Mm-hmm. Just because you've shown in it for 4 years and never got caught with it does not mean it is a legal bit. You know, NRHA, we get bridle checked. Not every time, they can not do it sometimes, but
Random check.
very random, very seldom do we not get checked. You know, there's lots of leeway what we're allowed in our bridles, but knowing beforehand is just a huge advantage. You know, you don't want to guess or be worried about it.
And just because you think that your bridle should be legal, or because your horse rides really well in it and you don't feel like it's a mean bridle, doesn't mean that it is legal. Like, I think that's a little bit of
Yeah, not all the ones that are illegal are.
that's where we get a little bit of pushback sometimes from people where they're like, why, he rides fine in it, or I've been riding in it for this long, or, you know, it's not mean, you know, it doesn't have long shanks on it, or like.
An AQHA, NRHA, the events that we do have the most rules on what bits you are and are not allowed. So I think it's very important that you know the rules. People that come from different disciplines will talk about like gag bits where they slide, or twisted wires, or and all the different combinations. And they say, well, I've been shown in this. It doesn't matter. AQHA has their rules. Abide by the rules. Play by the rules, and you'll be fine. And there's lots of bridles you can use. If you're going to show in the ranch, what's your favorite?
I feel like that's a loaded question, because I've been riding in like a different bridle every day for the last couple of weeks to try to figure out. Maybe it's not the bridle, maybe it's me.
One thing, when we discuss that and we change bridles all the time, we work on our horses with similar bridles very often.
What do you mean? You and I do, or all of the bits are very?
Well, but everybody when they ride, you know, they'll have their favorite bit they ride in quite often. And I try to have about a 3-day rule, though, especially leading up when I'm going to go show horses, where I do not leave the same bridle in their mouth for more than 3 days. That doesn't mean I throw a brand new one in that I don't know them in, but maybe I'm riding in a correction bit and then I put them into a solid port or whatever. And it gives those old horses that have been shown a million times. I don't change the young ones. The young ones are different. Those, they need to know where that's at, whatever. But them old horses that have been shown a lot.
How old is old?
I don't think it's an age. I feel like it's a mindset. You know, you could have a 4-year-old that has been shown a bunch as a 3-year-old, been shown a bunch as a 4-year-old, and they're starting to know the game. You know, oh, I'm in the show pen again. You know, everyone's different. I think that just, but that gets into the training mentality more so than the legality of what bits we were allowed to use.
Let's not go on too much of a tangent, and let's try to
We never go on tangents.
stay on topic and stay committed to what bits are legal for ranch riding. Because I know you could talk about bits all day.
Good day.
Okay. So what makes a legal bit and what makes an illegal bit for ranch riding? What are the considerations we have to take?
So AQHA and NRH, they're all similar. So you're allowed 3.5 inches of port maximum.
We're just showing, because I'm not sure that everybody knows what port is.
So we're allowed 3.5 inches from here to here. It has to be a standard size barrel. Forget what it is. I want to say it's 3/8, but don't quote me on that one. I forget what it is. I'd have to look it up. And then we're only allowed certain lengths from here to here. We're not allowed twists where the steel is twisted here. And the main things are we're not allowed anything sharp. We're not allowed anything that's going to cause stress to the horses. So this bit here has a decent sized port on it. But what it has that we love it for the ranch riding is anything that's a tall port for me is going to have a big spoon back into here. It's not going to be straight up and down. And the reason in the ranch especially that those are so important is in the ranch you have to maneuver your horse side to side very effectively, quickly, and you can't have those horses scared of that bridle where they're coming back and they're worried about it, they won't have a good look to them. They won't be looking through the bridle. They won't be looking up. They won't be doing their job if they have more of those straight ports. They're going to back behind them, and they're going to be a little worried. So
we need to stick to legal and not legal. Not what they ride best in.
Well, it's all the same.
I know you gotta stay on topic
all
here.
Right.
So too long in the shank is going to be illegal. Too long in the shank here, higher than 3.5 inches. We're saying this is what, 3/8?
I believe it is, but I feel like.
And
I'm
what's
wrong
the
on
length
that.
of the shanks? 8.5.
8.5.
Right? 8.5.
And a little trick.
And there's something about nothing coming down
Nothing can protrude down. No.
from the bottom of the mouthpiece.
If you have an AQHA or an NRHA rule book, the length of the rule book is the length of a shank. The width of the rule book is the height of the port.
That's a cool hack. So
How's that for useless information?
No, it's not useless because that's how they measure them. If they pull it out, they pull their handbook out of their pocket and measure it, right?
Pretty quick. Or they have, well, they'll have a gauge.
If they have a question.
Yeah.
Or yeah, a gauge is kind of a cool tool. Okay, so what about the age of the horse and how that affects what they're allowed to show in?
So one that we get asked all the time is, can I show aged horses in a snaffle two-handed? It's the rules. Anything 5 and under is a junior, 6 and above is a senior. Junior horses can be rode in a snaffle bit, can be rode in a hackamore, or can be rode in a shank bit one-handed. Senior horses have to be rode in a shank bit one-handed.
What makes a legal snaffle? Because we just talked about shanks. So what makes a legal snaffle bit if you're showing in a snaffle?
So there's the absolute minimum of what them widths can be. They made these right to the limit of the thinnest they can possibly be. They can't be twisted wire.
I'm going to save that because we're going to play a game in a second of legal or not legal.
Okay. They can be O-rings, they can be D-rings, doesn't matter. No leverage can be applied and have a lengthy shank, and that's the main thing.
So you can't have another one down here.
You can't have anything that applies leverage coming up. Now you can have,
Excuse me.
one thing they'll give you a little bit of leeway on anymore is chin straps, but other than that, it just has to be non-leverage. So a direct pull. When you pull back, you'll feel their tongue. Like that's the only pull you can have on that bit. And that's the only thing for the snaffles. They have to be smooth. They have to be no thinner than that one. I should have grabbed a rule book and did that measurement. But
That
it's
would have
in the
been
rule.
cool.
Yeah, it would have been smart.
Next time. Okay, so if your horse is 5 and under, you can ride two-handed in a snaffle, or you can ride in a hackamore. What makes a legal hackamore?
Hackamores are... They have dimensions for here. That's the same. Main things with hackamores is they cannot have any steel in them at all. So what they do to measure these is they just take they have a little magnet, and if it sticks anywhere on these hackamores, you're not allowed that. They can be rawhide, they can be latigo leather, they can be kangaroo leather, whatever they're made of, doesn't matter. Natural fibers.
Okay. I think a bee just flew into my neck. Okay.
And that's the main thing on that one. They'll have horsehair or they'll have yacht Macatis. But the main thing is that it is...
Do you know what the measurement is?
I think
Is it here and here? Or just up here?
That's both.
Both, okay.
The main thing with it, the measurements themselves are actually in the rule book. So that one's easier because there's a bunch of measurements. You have your bars, your lengths, your dimensions. So that one gets... I don't even try to remember them. If I'm doubtful on any piece of equipment, I just go to the rule book. I do it every time.
Yeah.
Especially for us, nobody likes to ever get DQ'd for equipment.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
even
You
worse.
have like the best run of your whole life, and then you go drop your bit and you're disqualified.
Well, and I think it's such a silly one because obviously, and I don't have a good memory and I don't try to keep it up. My biggest thing is I read the rule book through and through.
Okay, should we play a game of legal or not legal? Okay.
Talk about reins on them.
Oh, yeah.
So
Okay.
one question we always have too is, what are legal? So if you're riding in a hackamore, just to really
that nobody does because it's not cool?
Well, and it doesn't have the right feel.
Okay.
But you actually can legally do it. Some reiners do it if they need to. You can use Ramel reins, leather or rawhide, or you can use split leather reins like we're used to showing it. You cannot use contest reins like a barrel horse rein. They have to be split. The split rein, if you're going to hold them one-handed. The Ramels, if you're going to hold them properly. That's a whole other discussion.
Are you allowed to use your popper? You're allowed to use Ramels in the ranch riding ring?
No.
Okay, I need to put some more so that I can do this. Okay. Legal or not legal?
What do I get if I win?
You have to win. Because I want for people to have to guess. If you want to write it in, you can, if you're watching it.
So this is one of our favorite day-to-day bits.
Yeah.
We use these ones a lot. They're a mild twist, so them horses, if you want to rub them against their bars, they can back off of it a fair bit. Just a great little bit. Illegal for two reasons. A, it has a German martingale attached to it, so it's not just split reins coming down. Again, this is a training piece of equipment and one of my favorites. And the bit is illegal because it is a twisted wire, or it is a twisted steel bit. Anything that's not smooth across the bars here, no matter if it is a shank bit or a snaffle bit, is not legal to show in.
Not legal. Oh, okay. What about this one?
So here's one that we get asked about a lot. This is one that we ride a lot of young horses in. And the bit itself is legal, but where we get asked a lot on it is the leather curb strap behind it. And so much in what everybody just thinks has to have, everybody thinks it needs to be a chain curb strap, and it does not. It can be a leather curb strap. If you show in the cow horse, in the NRCHA, you cannot use a chain. You actually have to use this. But in the ranch riding and in the AQHA, that's a legal curb strap. And it's a great one for horses that are maybe just a little bit scared and unsure about their face, or they're even just scared about being at a horse show. You know, we'll put them in one of those, and then we can just pull on them a little bit without scaring them, and just gives them a lot of confidence that, okay, I'm still getting pulled on, but it's not going to be that little sharp chain. So it is legal, but we get asked about it a lot. Now here's one that has become very popular.
Legal or not legal? So you can guess if you like.
When I talked earlier about, I would go up to some judges and ask them about a bit. A bunch of years ago, they brought these in with the ball on top. And a lot of judges, you know, when they first come out, everybody went, whoa, what the heck's going on here? And it really isn't, it's a weird looking bit for a lot of people that aren't used to them. They're a great little bit, especially if you got one that's a little heavy and you want to change a different spot in their mouth to pull on. This is legal. If they're down here, they're not. Because it would be the same as if they built the port up that way. They just put it on there because from the standpoint of building it, it's way easier. It's actually a legal bit.
Is this legal?
Legal chin strap. It's thick enough. It's flat. All the stuff it needs to be.
Legal reins.
Legal reins.
Legal headstall.
Not a bit you want to put a young horse in. Not a bit you want to put a beginner rider on. But if you got kind of one of them old deadheads, it's kind of heavy. They're a great little bit. It is legal. Not advised for a lot of people when they first start showing, but a really nice bit.
Okay, this one. So this one has the horseshoe.
This one here is kind of neat because the guy who
It's a little roller in it.
made this bit, he's from Arizona, and then I bought this off a friend of mine, and then guy up here in Ontario used the pattern and built a whole bunch of these bits around here, and they're really nice bits. So this part here is an old horseshoe, tipped back a little bit. Now these rollers are legal, and I love them because you'll take a horse that maybe has just a little bit of a stiff jowl, and once they move their mouth to play with, they'll play with that with their tongue, and you'll get a whole new mouth on them, and it'll be soft. So again, fairly high port, well below the 3.5 inches, but it's well swept back, so it's pretty nice on the horses. And this one here has a little bit of weight to it. Has a legal curve strap because it's flat, and that's one that a lot of people get called on when they do a bit check. And people that know better, I can't emphasize that enough. So many people will clean their tack the night before they show at a show, and they will take off all their curb straps, their reins, they clean it up really well, and they put it back on, and they don't realize that's twisted, and that makes it illegal if that has one twist in there. Slobber straps are legal, very advised, whether they be solid steel, leather, you can use anything, and all those do is keep them from bouncing around in that horse's mouth.
Okay, so this one's a legal bit, legal curb chain.
Has a set of leather ramels on it. You can't really see that, but
Leather, legal ramels. Are there any illegal ramels?
I guess depends how you use them. Usually if somebody's going to get caught with ramels, it's for sneaking a finger in them.
We talked about that one. Let's talk about this one. And because a lot of people have questions over this one because of that.
So again, this one here, this one doesn't have a cricket. This one just has a roller in it. It is legal because it's under the 3.5. It's flat. There's nothing that protrudes out underneath it. These ones are a pretty popular bit in the show horse world. They call them an ace of spades. There's a Tom Balding made them, and then there's a guy in Italy that's making a really nice one now too. Perfectly legal because it's under the 3.5. Again, for the ranch, really like it because really swept back up on the top. Doesn't poke on the top of that mouth and bang on there. It sits flat against the top of their mouth. Has some rollers here that they play with a little bit, and then also has that where their tongue is on. Same flat curb strap, slobber strap, perfectly legal. And again, those swept back shanks on the ranch are really a nice bit because you can take hold of them, move them left and right. And it's a fast event. You want to be able to take hold of them.
Okay, one more. Legal or not legal? So we have, you can't see the roller on the back. Does that roll? Or is it just stuck?
No, there'll just be some hay stuck in it.
Just hay stuck in it, yeah. There's a lot of hay stuck in this one.
So this one here, actually some good friends of ours that I ride horses for a lot. She owns this bit. It's on loan. And this is a very cool old cow horse bit. It is legal. And it looks a little bit, what do you call it, unorthodox?
Legal for the ranch.
It is legal for, it's actually legal NRHA. It's legal AQHA. It is not legal NRCHA only because of the curb strap. So these are kind of a weird curb strap. They are flat, so they're in there. They call them a power curb. And they're not great in the ranch riding because they have just a little bit of bite to them. And so does this bit. So this bit is designed, everything is straight up and down. So when you pull on this, it is an instant, they feel the bump on their face. So it's not ideal.
Instead of this being swept back.
Or this mouthpiece being swept back.
Yeah.
It's a really nice bit for the right horses, but it has to be the right horse and it has to be the right time. But it is actually legal. Again, the rollers, perfectly legal. So are the balance bars. And that's one where a lot of people aren't used to them, especially up on the East Coast. It's a very West Coast style bit. Balance bars are legal because they're above the bar and they come into there. And the horses will pack them really nice. I have a bunch that have the balance bars and are swept back. They're really nice bits. They just look a little unusual. And if you're up on, like we're from Ontario, if you go to club show or a small show around here, the judges aren't going to know what it is. So this is one where you definitely want to show them ahead of time, make sure it's legal. And even some judges that are AQHA, nothing against them, but they haven't seen them a whole lot, so sometimes you want to just show them ahead of time. But it is perfectly legal. Balance bars are great. A lot of they'll salivate really well. We've showed a lot of old reiners, you know, that have been through the pen a million times in these, and it really does well for them horses.
So legal here, legal even though that has texture.
Yep. Because it's not on the bars of the mouth.
It's not on the bars.
So
Legal,
everything is what is on the bars.
Legal curved. Now, what about the chains?
So these are rein chains, and a lot of people aren't comfortable with these or just don't need them. And what they do is they allow, like as you're loping, they make movement as they lope. So this bit is constantly telling that horse where to pack his face. So as I'm doing this, the same as how Lindsay's hand is kind of always moving, they always feel movement every stride, and then they have to find out where is the appropriate place to keep it so that that bit sits still.
Okay. It's funny that that one is legal and that the snaffle is not. Snaffle with the twist is not legal. It just seems funny.
The reason for it is because, like, and everybody will agree, a little bit of a twist isn't a bad thing, but where do you draw the line? You know, they have to be able to make a rule too.
Oh yeah.
Like how big are the...
I just feel like if somebody was to look through, you know, like you have a massive bridle collection, when somebody comes and looks at the
I
barn
have a
and
very inadequate collection.
starts with snaffle bits and goes all the way up to like that last one, it's always the ones at the far end, like that last one that people are like, that can't be legal, but was actually snaffle. We actually don't have any. We don't have any that have big ports or long shanks on them that are illegal.
No, because usually if you go too high, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I think years ago I saw the coolest, funniest thing I ever saw. I was judging a little deal, and they dropped the bridle, and the guy dropped a very generic bridle. And I kind of went to walk away. It was no big deal. But he had actually welded a piece on top of the thing, and it was huge. And I tried to buy the bit on it just to have on my wall, and he wouldn't sell it to me. But 9 times out of 10, once you get over 3.5 inches, you're not getting productive anyways. It's just, like I have some on my wall that I don't even have on bridles. They're just conversation pieces. But they're, once you're over 3.5 inches, you've already put the spoon on the top of the mouth, so there's no benefit of going higher. And then same with long shanks. There's, you know, you're in trouble at that point. Biggest thing to be said too is those bigger bridles are very educated horses with very educated people riding them. Like I don't just kick all my non-pros and say, here, ride this bit. There's very specific times that you know, like that straight one, that one would get used, and it's very specific horses.
Okay. Daphne said thanks very much. Very helpful. In the background, but already rode. Yeah, rode really good today. Cindy, okay, I don't think we have any more questions right now.
I think the greatest thing about the legal and illegal bits, there is no questions to be had because it's either like, are they legal or are they not? It's pretty bad.
Can you explain again the purpose of the slobber straps? This isn't something I was familiar with in the Western performance. I'm having a hard time with the sun.
I can't even see the...
No, it just says, yeah, she's just asking if you can explain again the slobber straps.
So you can have multiple different types of them. This one is a solid, it's upside down, but this one here, it's solid steel. decorative, had a bunch of silver in it and stuff. This one here is just a piece of nylon. The benefit of them, in NRCHA, you have to have one. In AQHA, you do not. But what happens is it doesn't allow the shanks to move and flop out the side as you're loping. The other thing it doesn't allow,
kind of hold them together.
right? Without it, they get flopping, and then all of a sudden you got this thing upside down. If you go into the stiffer slobber
You got this
strap,
thing upside down. The horse?
well, the shanks go front to back, and I've seen it at some shows where you see somebody loping around, you think, oh my God, how do they not kill themselves? But the main benefit is it holds the bit solid in the side of that horse's shank, so when you move around, they know where it's at. If you go into a steel one that's affixed to the bit and is solid, then there's no give at all. You've made that a little more rigid, so wherever you put your hand, good or bad, that horse knows where that bit's going to be. If you're a little too rough with your hands, then it's going to blow up on you. And then obviously the beginners and the young horses, we're going to use a loose slobber strap so that there's just a little bit of give there. There's a little bit of freedom. They don't get in trouble if they get moved around. And it just holds that bit straight on the sides of their mouth, and they can't get flopping side to side. Bit hobble, slobber straps, everybody calls them a little different.
Yeah.
So in a lot of disciplines, they're not going to have them because they don't have shank bits.
Okay. Hopefully that answered that for you. Thanks for being here with us today, guys. So we're going to do a separate video about what bridles are legal for the reining, legal in NRHA. This question was specifically about ranch riding bridles, but we will make sure that we cover what's legal for NRHA as well. And we hope to see you back here for that one. Okay, have a good day.